Allen Iverson. The chaos started at a bowling alley in Hampton, Virginia, back in February of 1993. Iverson was only 17, but he was already a standout in both football and basketball. That night, a fight broke out involving dozens of people after someone allegedly threw a racial slur at Iverson's group. It turned into a full-blown brawl with chairs flying. Somehow, despite the crowd being a mix of both black and white individuals, only Iverson and 3 of his black friends were charged. Prosecutors hit them with a law meant to fight lynching, charging them with maiming by mob. Iverson got tried as an adult and sentenced to 15 years, but 10 were suspended. He served 4 months in a correctional facility before getting conditional clemency from the governor. The court later overturned the conviction, saying there just wasn't enough evidence to prove he was trying to maim anyone. The whole thing tore through the Hampton community and lit up national media. A lot of people saw it as an ugly example of racial injustice. Years later, ESPN even made a documentary about it. That one incident didn't just affect Iverson's life, it became a lens into much deeper issues. Dennis Rodman. Back in August of 1999, he got busted for public drunkenness after an altercation at a California bar. He spent the night in jail, but the charges disappeared. A few months later, he and Carmen Electra were both arrested after a domestic dispute that ended with dropped charges and temporary restraining orders. December rolled around, and Rodman got arrested again, this time for driving under the influence and having no valid license. He pleaded guilty, paid fines, and went through a treatment program. Then came April of 2004, and Las Vegas police picked him up for another drunk driving incident. He took a deal, paid a fine, and served 30 days under home detention. In 2008, he was arrested again for domestic violence after an incident at a Los Angeles hotel. He pleaded no contest and got probation, counseling, and community service. In 2018, he was arrested for driving under the influence again. That led to probation. Then in 2019, he was accused of helping steal items from a yoga studio and charged separately for battery after allegedly slapping a man. And in 2024, a lawsuit accused him of assault. Delonte West. Back in September of 2009, he got pulled over in Maryland riding a 3-wheeled motorcycle. Inside a guitar case, police found 3 loaded guns, including a shotgun and 2 pistols. He pleaded guilty and got probation, community service, and counseling. Fast forward to October of 2021, he was arrested in Florida for banging on a police station door while holding open containers of beer and vodka. The charges? Disorderly intoxication and resisting arrest. Then, in June of 2024, things escalated. Police tried serving him a warrant in Virginia, but he ran and was later found unresponsive. Narcan had to be used twice for what appeared to be an opioid overdose. He was hit with multiple misdemeanors and released on bond. A few months later, in November, he got arrested again for trespassing in a restricted area. There was video evidence, and again, he was released after posting bond. He was scheduled for court in June and July, but by the end of July, several charges were dropped. West's legal troubles are tangled up in a long battle with bipolar disorder and substance abuse. He's publicly struggled, despite past support and rehab efforts. By the way, if you guys want to subscribe, I'm going to be posting every day. Thanks. Anyways, Charles Barkley. In December of 1991, after a game in Milwaukee, Barkley got into it with some guys outside a bar who were heckling him. He punched one of them and broke the guy's nose. That landed him in jail for a few hours, but a jury ended up clearing him. Then in October of 1997, down in Orlando, he got pelted with ice after refusing an autograph. Barkley didn't brush it off. He threw the guy through a plate glass window. He got arrested and charged with aggravated battery and resisting arrest. His only regret? Not throwing the guy from a higher floor. Then came December of 2008 in Scottsdale, Arizona. He ran a stop sign, flunked a sobriety test, and was arrested for driving under the influence. He pleaded guilty and got 10 days in jail, which dropped to 3 after he completed treatment. He did his time at Tent City in March of 2009. He also racked up a $400,000 gambling debt in Vegas that nearly turned into criminal charges before he paid it off. Barkley's admitted to being arrested multiple times and credits his wife for sticking with him through it all. Glenn Davis. On May 9, 2024, he was sentenced to 40 months in federal prison for helping scam the NBA players' health and benefit welfare plan out of over $5 million. Davis, along with others, submitted fake medical and dental claims. One of the more ridiculous ones, he claimed to get dental work done in Beverly Hills while actually traveling from Las Vegas to Paris. In November of the previous year, he was found guilty of healthcare fraud, wire fraud, and making false statements. His punishment didn't stop at prison. He also got hit with 3 years of supervised release, had to pay $80,000, and was required to take financial management classes and go through drug treatment programs. His prison date was pushed from September to October so he could finish a documentary about his life, which the court hoped might help with his financial mess. Davis, who played 9 seasons in the league and scored over 4,000 points, was known just as much for his big personality as for his play. But this part of his story turned out to be less about basketball and a lot more about fraud and consequences. Jason Williams. On February 14, 2002, he shot and killed limousine driver Kostas Christofi at his New Jersey mansion. The driver had just brought Williams' charity basketball team from an event, and during a house tour, Williams handled a shotgun that discharged and killed him. In 2004, he was acquitted of the most serious charges, but found guilty of trying to cover it up. He later pleaded guilty to aggravated assault and was sentenced to 5 years, serving about 27 months before getting out in April of 2012. But that wasn't the end. In April of 2009, he was found intoxicated and violent in a hotel, requiring a taser and hospitalization. A month later, he allegedly punched a guy in North Carolina, but those charges were dropped. Then in January of 2010, he crashed his Mercedes in Manhattan and got hit with a DWI. That earned him another year in jail, 8 months, of which he served at Rikers Island. Earlier accusations from the 90s included a bar fight and firing a gun into a parking lot. Though no charges stuck, after prison, he wrote books reflecting on his actions and personal struggles. Jason Kidd. On January 18, 2001, he was arrested in Paradise Valley, Arizona, after hitting his then-wife, Jumana Kidd, during an argument. She ended up with a cut inside her mouth and visible swelling. Kidd admitted to striking her and pleaded guilty to a misdemeanor domestic abuse charge. He got a $200 fine and was ordered to attend 6 months of anger management counseling. He not only completed it, but kept attending sessions voluntarily. The couple eventually divorced in 2007, each accusing the other of cruelty and abuse. Then, in July of 2012, Kidd got arrested again, this time in Southampton, New York. After crashing his SUV into a telephone pole, police found him intoxicated and charged him with misdemeanor driving while intoxicated. A year later, he pleaded guilty and was put on interim probation. He also had to speak to high school students about the dangers of drinking and driving. If he completed that, the plea would drop to a violation. The NBA suspended him for 2 games at the start of the 2013 season, right when he had just taken over as head coach of the Brooklyn Nets. Kobe Bryant. In July of 2003, he was arrested in Eagle County, Colorado, after a 19-year-old hotel employee accused him of sexual assault. The incident happened at the Lodge and Spa at Cordillera, where Bryant was staying before knee surgery. On July 4th, a warrant was issued, and he turned himself in, posting a $25,000 bond. 2 weeks later, he was formally charged with felony sexual assault. Bryant admitted to having sex with the accuser, but insisted it was consensual. Medical reports showed bruising and lacerations, consistent with her claims. The criminal case didn't go to trial because the accuser chose not to testify. Prosecutors dismissed the charges in September of 2004. The following year, in March, Bryant settled a civil lawsuit filed by the accuser for an undisclosed amount. After the dismissal, Bryant issued a public apology, saying he now understood she didn't view the encounter the same way he did. The fallout hit his reputation hard. Sponsors like McDonald's and Nutella dropped him. While the case never led to a conviction, it became a defining controversy that followed him through his career and shaped how many viewed him on and off the court. Scotty Pippen. In January of 1994, he was arrested in Chicago after police found a loaded .380 handgun in his illegally parked Range Rover, even though he legally owned the weapon. Carrying it in public violated Illinois law at the time. He spent 45 minutes in jail, posted a $100 bond, and the charge was dropped due to an illegal search. A year later, in May of 1995, he was charged with simple battery after his fiancée accused him of pushing her during an argument. She wasn't injured, and he was released on another $100 bond. In April of 1999, while playing for Houston, he ran a red light around 1:30 in the morning and failed a field sobriety test. He refused the breathalyzer, was arrested for DWI, and later released. Charges were dropped for lack of evidence. In June of 2013, he got into an altercation outside a Malibu restaurant. A man claimed assault, but Pippen was never charged. Most recently, in March of 2024, a woman filed a $250 million harassment lawsuit involving Pippen and others. No charges have been filed. He was also defrauded by his financial advisor, who went to prison. And you can make this your best season yet with nutritious, 2-minute meals from Factor. Personally, I've been using Factor for the past few weeks, and honestly, it's changed everything. No more stressing over what to cook or cleaning up after. Just heat, eat, and go. Especially while watching the playoffs, it makes everything so easy. The shredded chicken taco bowl, fire. The garlic herb salmon, better than anything I've ever made at home. Instead of being stuck in the kitchen, I've been spending more time outside and hitting the gym. And Factor fits right into that routine. And like I said, with the playoffs on too, you don't gotta stress about missing the game. With 45 weekly options, I can switch it up constantly. Whether I'm aiming for high protein or just keeping it light, they've got it all. Calorie Smart, Protein Plus, Keto, even veggie meals. Plus, they've got snacks and desserts that don't ruin your goals. I've been loving their smoothies and those peanut butter energy bites. I'm hooked. So why not savor more this summer? Let Factor take care of the meals so you can enjoy more of everything else. Get started at factormeals.com/modernjam50off and use code modernjam50off to get 50% off plus free shipping on your first box. That's code modernjam50off at factormeals.com/modernjam50off for 50% off plus free shipping. Thank you, Factor. J.R. Smith. On June 9, 2007, he ran a stop sign in Millstone Township, New Jersey, and crashed his SUV. He and his passenger, Andre Bell, were ejected, and Bell later died from his injuries. Smith wasn't indicted for manslaughter, but did plead guilty to reckless driving. He got 90 days in jail, with 60 suspended, and served 24 days before release. The NBA suspended him for 7 games to start the 2009 season. In May of 2012, he was arrested in Miami Beach due to a bench warrant after missing a court date for a scooter violation. He was released after posting bond. That same year, the NBA fined him $25,000 for posting a suggestive photo of model Tahiri Jose on Twitter. In November of 2015, a man accused him of choking and hitting him outside a nightclub. No charges were filed, but a civil lawsuit followed. On May 31st, 2020, during the George Floyd protests, Smith was caught on video beating a man who damaged his truck. He later admitted it was retaliation. Through it all, Smith kept playing professionally and even joined a college golf team. Javaris Crittenton. In December of 2009, while playing for the Wizards, he and Gilbert Arenas pulled guns on each other in the locker room during a dispute over gambling debts. The league suspended both for the rest of the season, and Crittenton never returned to the NBA. After failing to revive his career, he got involved with the Mansfield Gangster Crips. In August of 2011, he fired shots from a car in Atlanta, aiming at someone he believed robbed him. He missed and killed Julian Jones, a 22-year-old mother of 4. He was arrested later that month in California. In 2013, he was indicted on 12 charges, including murder and gang activity. In April of 2015, he accepted a plea deal for voluntary manslaughter and aggravated assault, receiving 23 years in prison. His cousin got 3 years for his role. While out on bond before sentencing, Crittenton was also indicted for conspiring to distribute cocaine and marijuana. After serving about 10 years, he was released in April of 2023 under strict probation. Since then, he's done public speaking and appeared in a Netflix documentary covering his fall from the NBA. Ron Artest. On November 19, 2004, he was at the center of the infamous malice at the Palace Brawl between the Pacers and Pistons. After a fan threw a drink, Artest charged into the stand, sparking one of the wildest scenes in NBA history. He was charged with misdemeanor assault and battery, pleaded no contest, and got 1 year of probation, 60 hours of community service, a small fine, and anger management. The NBA hit harder. He was suspended for the rest of the season, including 73 regular games and 13 playoff games, costing him about $5 million. Then in March of 2007, he was arrested at home in California after his wife reported being assaulted. He pleaded no contest to domestic violence and was sentenced to 20 days in jail, with 10 suspended. He served the time through a work release program and had to complete 100 hours of community service and counseling. The NBA suspended him for 7 games. He also had earlier suspensions for smashing a TV camera, fighting with a coach, and taking time off to promote a music album. In 2007, he gave up his dog due to neglect claims. Kevin Porter Jr. In November of 2020, he was arrested in Ohio after crashing his car. Police found a loaded gun in the vehicle, but a grand jury declined to indict him since both the car and the gun belonged to his mother. Misdemeanor charges for driving without a license were also dropped. Then in September of 2023, he was arrested in Manhattan after allegedly assaulting his girlfriend, former WNBA player Keisri Gondrzik. Prosecutors said he hit her several times and choked her, causing a deep cut and a fractured vertebra. He was charged with felony assault and strangulation. As part of a plea deal, he pleaded guilty to misdemeanor assault and harassment. The deal required him to complete a 26-week domestic violence program and follow a limited protection order. If completed, he could withdraw his assault plea. After the arrest, the Rockets banned him from team activities. He was traded to the Thunder and immediately waived. In 2024, he signed with Greek club PAOK Thessaloniki and played 6 games, posting impressive stats. By July, he signed with the Clippers, and in February of 2025, he was traded to the Milwaukee Bucks. Malik Beasley. On September 26, 2020, he confronted a family who had stopped near his home in Plymouth, Minnesota. The house had mistakenly been listed on a Parade of Homes tour, and Beasley responded by pointing a rifle at the occupants, which included a child. When police arrived, they smelled marijuana and got a search warrant. Inside, they found around 2 pounds of marijuana and several firearms, one of them reported stolen. Beasley was charged with felony threats of violence and 5th-degree drug possession. In December, he accepted a plea deal and pleaded guilty to the felony threat charge, with the drug charge dropped. He was sentenced in February of 2021 to 120 days in the Hennepin County Workhouse to be served after the season. His conditions included 3 years of probation, anger management classes, random drug tests, and a permanent firearms ban. He started serving his sentence in June and was released after 78 days for good behavior. The NBA suspended him for 12 games that season as a result of the incident. Beasley's legal issues added serious weight to a career that had already seen plenty of attention for his on-court performance. Oliver Miller. On April 17, 2011, during a barbecue in Arnold, Maryland, he got into a heated argument with his girlfriend's brother, Jason Worley. The confrontation turned violent when Miller hit Worley in the head several times with a handgun, causing injuries that required 11 staples. He was arrested and charged with 1st and 2nd degree assault, reckless endangerment, use of a handgun in a violent crime, possession of a handgun, and disorderly conduct. On November 1st, he pleaded guilty to 1st degree assault and carrying a handgun. He was sentenced on February 3rd, 2012 to 5 years in prison, with all but 1 year suspended. After serving his sentence, he was placed on 5 years of probation. Before his legal troubles, Miller had a 9-season NBA career. Drafted 22nd overall by the Phoenix Suns in 1992, he played for several teams, including the Pistons, Raptors, Mavericks, Kings, and Timberwolves. He was part of the Suns' run to the 1993 NBA Finals and had a standout season with Toronto in 1996. Miller passed away from cancer on March 12, 2025, at the age of 54, closing a turbulent chapter after a promising NBA career. Taurean Prince. On May 19, 2022, he was pulled over in Arlington, Texas, for driving with expired registration tags. During the stop, Prince told officers he had 2 handguns in the car. As they were being retrieved, the officer noticed a vape pen suspected of containing THC oil, along with a canister of marijuana. That led to charges for unlawful carrying of a weapon, possession of marijuana under 2 ounces, and possession of a controlled substance. In Texas, having a firearm while committing another offense makes the weapons charge more serious. The investigation took time due to lab testing. Then, on August 25th, Prince was arrested at Miami International Airport on a fugitive warrant tied to the Texas charges. He was booked into Turner Guilford Night Correctional Center and later released on bond. In November, a grand jury in Texas declined to indict him on the controlled substance charge, and the weapons charge was dropped soon after. Prince made a public statement calling the incident unfortunate and maintained his innocence. The whole situation reflected just how messy local drug and firearm laws can get, especially for public figures caught in legal gray areas. Jack Molinas. In 1953, he was drafted 3rd overall by the Fort Wayne Pistons and quickly made an impact, averaging over 11 points and 7 rebounds per game. But his career was derailed in January of 1954 when he admitted to betting on games, including ones he played in. The NBA banned him for life. He tried to sue the league for $3 million, claiming antitrust violations, but the case was dismissed. After basketball, he got involved in a massive college point shaving scandal between 1957 and 1960. Molinas helped fix games involving 50 players from 27 different schools, working alongside members of the Genovese crime family. He was convicted in 1963 and sentenced to up to 15 years, serving 5 before being paroled in 1968. After prison, he didn't exactly go quiet. He got involved in the pornography business and was arrested in 1973 for illegally shipping obscene materials across state lines. Then in August of 1975, he was shot and killed in his backyard in Los Angeles. His girlfriend and dog were also wounded. The murder was suspected to be mob-related, tying back to debts and criminal connections that followed him for decades. Sebastian Telfair. In April of 2007, he was pulled over in Yonkers, New York, for speeding. Police found he had a suspended license and discovered a loaded .45 caliber handgun under the seat. He pleaded guilty in 2008 to criminal possession of a weapon and received 3 years of probation. The NBA suspended him for 3 games. Then in June of 2017, Telfair was stopped again in Brooklyn, this time for driving without headlights and parking illegally. Officers smelled marijuana and saw a lit joint. A search uncovered 3 loaded handguns, a semi-automatic rifle, a ballistic vest, and several bags of marijuana. He was charged with criminal weapon possession and other offenses. In April 2019, he was convicted, and that August, he was sentenced to 3.5 years in prison. However, in November of 2023, his conviction was overturned after a court ruled that previous incidents used in the trial may have biased the jury. Back in October 2021, he was also charged with healthcare fraud. He pleaded guilty in March 2023, got probation, and was ordered to forfeit over $350,000. Mookie Blaylock. On May 31st, 2013, he crossed the center line while driving in Clayton County, Georgia, and collided head-on with a van. Monica Murphy, a 43-year-old mother of 5, was killed, and her husband was seriously injured. At the time, Blaylock had been ordered by doctors not to drive due to seizures related to alcohol withdrawal. Despite that, he was behind the wheel. He was charged with vehicular homicide, driving with a suspended license, and failure to maintain his lane. In October of 2014, he took a plea deal, pleading guilty to vehicular homicide and serious injury by vehicle. He received a 15-year sentence, with 3 years to be served in prison and the rest on probation. He was also ordered to complete 1,500 hours of community service, attend Alcoholics Anonymous twice weekly, and never drive again during the sentence. Blaylock had a long history of alcohol abuse, with 7 DUI arrests, 6 of which came after his NBA career ended in 2002. During his playing days, he was a defensive standout, leading the league in steals twice and making an All-Star appearance in 1994 with the Atlanta Hawks. James Bouknight. On October 16, 2022, Charlotte police found him unconscious in a running car parked in a deck on East Brooklyn Village Avenue. The vehicle was still in drive. Officers spent nearly an hour trying to wake him using lights, sirens, and air horns. When he finally came to, Bouknight refused commands, appeared confused, and ended up hitting 2 police vehicles before being detained. His blood alcohol level was 0.14, well above the legal limit of 0.08 in North Carolina. He also had a Glock 23 on him, but wasn't charged with any firearm offense since he had a pending concealed carry permit and was within state open carry laws. Prior to that, he had several reckless driving charges between November of 2021 and October 10, 2022. In April 2024, Bouknight pleaded guilty to impaired driving and received 12 months of unsupervised probation. He was ordered to complete 24 hours of community service or provide proof of inpatient substance abuse treatment. His license was suspended for the probation period. After these incidents, the Hornets waived him in February of 2024, ending his stint with the team. P.J. Tucker. In May of 2014, he was arrested in Scottsdale, Arizona for driving under the influence. His blood alcohol content was recorded at 0.222%, nearly 3 times the legal limit in the state. Tucker later pleaded guilty to an extreme DUI charge, a more severe classification due to the high BAC level. As part of the legal outcome, he faced penalties under Arizona law and was also suspended by the NBA for the first 3 games of the 2014-15 season without pay. The league's disciplinary action reflected the seriousness of the offense, though Tucker complied fully with the legal process. Since that incident, he hasn't been publicly connected to any other legal trouble. His career continued without further disruption, and he's maintained a solid reputation. Tucker has played for several NBA teams, including the Suns, Raptors, Rockets, Bucks, and Heat. He played a major role in helping the Bucks win the 2021 NBA title with his signature defense and toughness. Before that, he spent time overseas in places like Germany and Israel. The DUI remains the only notable legal issue in a career otherwise marked by professionalism and steady leadership. Greg Oden. On August 7th, 2014, he was arrested in Lawrence, Indiana, after police responded to a domestic disturbance at his mother's house. Officers found his ex-girlfriend with visible injuries, including a swollen eye, lacerations on her face, and a broken nose. Blood was seen on the furniture and floor, and a flower pot had been knocked over. Oden admitted to hitting her during an argument and said things got out of control. Witnesses, including a relative, tried to restrain him. He was charged with felony battery, causing serious bodily injury, and 2 counts of misdemeanor domestic battery. The victim needed stitches and additional treatment for the nasal fracture. In February of 2015, Oden took a plea deal, pleading guilty to battery with moderate bodily injury. The remaining charges were dropped. He received 909 days of probation, was fined, and ordered to attend counseling. Following the incident, Oden addressed his struggles with alcohol and began turning his life around. He returned to Ohio State, completed his degree, and later joined Butler University's basketball staff in 2022. He married Sabrina in 2017, and they have a daughter named London. Matt Barnes. In September of 2010, he was arrested in Sacramento on suspicion of felony domestic violence after an altercation with his then-fiancée, Gloria Govan. Both had visible injuries, and he was also charged with obstructing a phone line. Govan later denied any abuse. In July 2012, he was arrested again in Manhattan Beach for driving with a suspended license and allegedly threatening a police officer. He posted a $26,000 bond. In October 2015, Barnes drove to his estranged wife's house and got into a physical fight with Derek Fisher, who was dating Govan. The NBA suspended Barnes for 2 games and fined him $35,000 for his comments afterward. In December 2016, he was involved in a nightclub incident in New York where he allegedly choked a woman and assaulted a man. He later pleaded guilty to disorderly conduct and completed 10 days of community service. Civil suits from that incident are still ongoing. In 2018, he secured a restraining order against Govan after a school custody dispute. In 2023, he was sued for spitting on David Patterson. By February 2024, he was removed as Kings analyst following an undisclosed incident. Jarrett Jack. On February 20th, 2011, he was pulled over in Snellville, Georgia, around 4 a.m. for driving 66 in a 45 zone and weaving between lanes. Officers administered a field sobriety test, which he failed. He was then taken to Gwinnett County Jail, where a breathalyzer measured his blood alcohol content at .079, technically under the state's legal limit of .08. However, considering the rate alcohol leaves the system, authorities believed he was likely above the limit at the time of the stop. Jack was charged with DUI, speeding, and failure to maintain lane. He spent about 14 hours in custody before being released and later issued a public apology. The New Orleans Hornets, his team at the time, acknowledged the situation but let the legal process play out without suspension. Then, on April 12, 2013, Jack was fined $25,000 by the NBA for verbally abusing a referee after a loss to the Lakers. The game had a lopsided free throw count that likely fueled his outburst. These 2 incidents were the most notable legal and disciplinary challenges during Jack's otherwise steady basketball career. Al Jefferson. In February of 2010, Jefferson was arrested in Minneapolis for driving while impaired. After a Timberwolves game, he pleaded guilty to a 4th-degree DWI and was sentenced to 2 years probation, 40 hours of community service, and a $300 fine. His jail sentence was stayed as long as he maintained a clean driving record. The Timberwolves suspended him for 2 games, and Jefferson publicly apologized. In December of 2011, a domestic incident involving Jefferson and his girlfriend occurred in Cottonwood Heights, Utah. His girlfriend, Shirley Lewis, was arrested for allegedly hitting and biting him during an argument. She pleaded guilty to misdemeanor assault and avoided further legal trouble after paying court fees. Jefferson chose not to publicly discuss the incident. In December of 2015, the NBA suspended Jefferson for 5 games without pay after he violated the league's anti-drug policy. The substance involved was not disclosed, following NBA regulations. Gilbert Arenas. Like Crittenton, Arenas became involved in a major legal incident in December of 2009. The situation took place at the Verizon Center in Washington, D.C. Arenas and teammate Javaris Crittenton had a heated gambling dispute, which led Arenas to bring 4 unloaded firearms into the locker room and place them on Crittenton's chair with a note reading "Pick 1." Crittenton responded by drawing his own loaded firearm, leading to a tense standoff. The situation escalated, causing others to flee the locker room. The D.C. Metropolitan Police and U.S. Attorney's Office investigated the matter. Arenas was charged with carrying a pistol without a license, a violation of Washington, D.C.'s strict gun law. He pleaded guilty to the felony charge in January of 2010. Arenas received 2 years probation, 30 days, in a halfway house, 400 hours of community service, and a $5,000 fine. The NBA suspended him indefinitely and for the rest of the season. The incident severely impacted Arenas' career, overshadowing his on-court achievements. Zach Randolph, a former NBA forward known for his time with the Memphis Grizzlies and Sacramento Kings, faced legal trouble on August 9, 2017, when he was arrested in Los Angeles. The incident occurred at the Nickerson Gardens housing project, a neighborhood in South Los Angeles. The situation escalated after deputies arrived to break up a large crowd engaged in loud music and public marijuana use. The confrontation led to damage to 6 police vehicles, and Randolph was one of several individuals detained. He was arrested for felony marijuana possession with intent to sell due to the large quantity of marijuana found in his possession. Randolph was booked into jail at 4:23 a.m. on August 10th with a $20,000 bail. In September, he pleaded no contest to a misdemeanor charge of resisting arrest, and the felony charge was dropped. He was sentenced to 150 hours of community service and ordered to stay away from drug dealers. The NBA did not impose additional penalties, and the Sacramento Kings issued a brief statement acknowledging the situation. Randolph, who had a strong community reputation, expressed that he felt wrongfully arrested. Michael Beasley, a former NBA forward, faced multiple legal issues during his career. In September of 2008, Beasley was involved in an incident during the NBA's rookie transition program. Police responded to a hotel room after a fire alarm went off at 2 a.m. and marijuana was detected. Although no marijuana was found, Beasley was fined $50,000 by the NBA. In August of 2009, Beasley checked into a rehabilitation center, reportedly for stress-related issues, following speculation about marijuana in his social media photos. In June of 2011, Beasley was pulled over for speeding in Minnetonka, Minnesota, where police discovered marijuana in his vehicle. Beasley was fined and ticketed after claiming the marijuana wasn't his. In August of 2013, Beasley was arrested in Scottsdale, Arizona, for marijuana possession during a traffic stop. In 2014, a sexual assault case was reported but later dropped. In 2019, Beasley was suspended for 5 games for violating the NBA's anti-drug policy. In February of 2025, he was arrested at Manhattan Regional Airport for marijuana possession and released on a $750 bond. Carmelo Anthony. Melo encountered several legal issues throughout his career. In October of 2004, Anthony was cited for marijuana possession after inspectors at Denver International Airport found marijuana in his backpack. The charges were dropped when his friend James Cunningham signed an affidavit taking responsibility for the marijuana. Later in 2004, Anthony appeared in a controversial Stop Snitching video, which warned that cooperating with the police would lead to violence. He later distanced himself from the video. In December of 2006, during a game between the New York Knicks and Denver Nuggets, Anthony was involved in a brawl, which resulted in a 15-game suspension. In April of 2008, Anthony was arrested on suspicion of driving under the influence after weaving through lanes and failing to dim his headlights. He failed sobriety tests and was ticketed. The Denver Nuggets suspended him for 2 games, and he pleaded guilty to driving while ability impaired. The original charge was dropped, and he was sentenced to 1 year probation, 24 hours of community service, and $1,000 in fines. Jason Richardson, a former NBA player known for his dunks, faced multiple legal issues during his career. In April of 2003, Richardson was arrested after an altercation with his ex-girlfriend in Saginaw, Michigan. He was charged with misdemeanor domestic violence after pushing her into a wall and kicking her. The Golden State Warriors suspended him for 3 games without pay. In November of 2004, Richardson was convicted of felony child abuse after an incident involving his 6-year-old daughter. He was sentenced to 4 years of supervised probation. In December of 2010, Richardson was convicted of vehicular homicide due to intoxication after a fatal car accident, and he was sentenced to 8 years in prison. In 2005, Richardson faced multiple charges of reckless endangerment across several incidents in Tennessee. He was convicted in each case and sentenced to 6 days in jail per conviction. These repeated offenses led to ongoing legal troubles and affected his career. The accumulation of these charges raised serious concerns about his behavior, leaving a significant mark on his personal and professional life. If you enjoyed this, I'm going to be posting a lot here. I would greatly appreciate it if you could subscribe. Thanks for watching.